Hello, and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last BQH hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking to my practitioner, asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session. And when I refer to me, I'm speaking of myself under hypnosis, which means that the answers are coming from the 25th. Now, the subject of today's video is going to be a section that I have in every session I do of questions that refer to myself or experiences I have that I know are not, these are things that are not just happening to me. So I call them personal questions, but truly, as you know by now, if you've seen any of my other sessions, when it comes to personal questions, these are things that either I already know some of you are going through this, or I'm throwing this out there saying, this is another way of dealing with what's happening, because the 25th in their answers always make universal sense. In other words, what we have learned now at this point is that, first of all, none of us is going through these things that are unusual from anybody else's information. It might look different on the surface, but at the end of the day, we're all playing the same games here or doing the same work in the background. Or it's a matter of the fact that some of us are looking for certain things. So my very first question in this section was very long. And the reason it was very long is because, and you've heard me talk about this before, my higher self has thought it was a good idea for the last several years, and we're talking about 3 years now, sabotage every one of my closings. Now, I have been in real estate a long time. Let me tell you, I would have not been in real estate a long time, and I'm not being pretty good at it. I maintained myself for a long time, done very well for myself doing real estate. So when I started seeing that some of these deals were not closing, and it was in a weird way, like weird things happening. Now, real estate is fun, meaning that there's always new stuff going on, but I never had a situation where I couldn't close something or where there were a certain number of deals that would fall through. It just doesn't work that way. Most people in real estate will, even new people in real estate will close a certain percentage of deals. So this started, making me perk up my ears. And so I've asked the 25th over time, what is going on with this? Now, the 25th has brought up a lot of different reasons why we do certain things. But this time it seemed so odd to me because I was doing like a run through all the reasoning that I have done around this subject. And I'm thinking I'm missing something. So I'm not going to read the entire question line by line for the simple reason that we'll be here for a while. This question is very long because, see, I cannot really interject while I'm being hypnotized. And so I wanted to have the back and forth. And I knew some of the things the 25th has told us. So I'm going through a list saying, okay, you told us this, but this makes no sense in this situation. You told us this, but this does not apply to my situation. And so finally, we got to the actual reason for why this is coming up. So I'm going to give you the small summary of the question. All right, so this is Lorrayne asking on my behalf. I've been working a lot, but I cannot close anything and make money. Whenever anyone has had issues lately, you have said it's because of these reasons. And I'll give you a bullet point list here. 1, to keep us occupied and distracted. 2, we want to keep the shell in place. 3, we have chosen tediousness as the lesser evil compared to becoming emotional because of realizing that this is not real. They've also told me, so number 4, that there is no financial crisis, so I don't need to worry about it. Okay. 5, the higher self is not interested in money, but in power, and I have made that shift. 6, we're getting out of here soon anyway. So again, I shouldn't worry about this. And it wasn't exactly about the money. It's not that I was worried about the financial situation, because again, it's not like I have to worry about when I turn 60, am I going to have enough money for retirement? I'm just trying to understand what is going on here. And 7, the higher self is prioritizing something else in the background. So here was my question. You said we put up resistance because we cannot discern what is our higher self's plan. So I'm asking to be told what it is. So I don't want to hear it's any of these reasons because I've broken them down and I'm like, these make no sense. Because, for example, when they say it's because we want to keep the shell in place, for me, and what they mean is, let me back up for a second. When they say we want to keep the shell in place, what they mean is that we might be running into snags, But the reason we use these snags is to keep ourselves distracted and because we want to think that reality is just as dreadful as it's always been. Here's the problem. To see this lack of closings for me does not reconfirm reality. So it doesn't make it real, doesn't make the shell real for me. If anything, the opposite, because I know it's mathematically impossible for me not to close these deals unless my higher self is putting his foot in it. And so I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And this is what I mean. So I'm asking basically what's going on. What's the plan here? Why is this happening? And I really want to share this answer with you because it's the first time we've heard this and it was pretty awesome. Me. So what they're saying is that it's not that making money is objectionable to the higher self. Making money really doesn't matter to the higher self. What the plan of the higher self is that Clea is working on integrating already, which is the work we are going to be doing on your earth. While we don't have the time here that we will have on your earth, Clea has done so much work, especially in dream state, besides at a conscious state, where she's doing a lot of work she didn't expect she would be able to do. So we said before, she can, if she wants to, get a part-time job, which she's thinking of doing, and so on. However, what happens is that what she thinks of as I'm distracting myself when I work and I'm keeping busy is that she loses focus. She gets so into it that she loses focus on what she's actually really doing at a conscious level, which is knowing this is not real. And the fact that she's not closing, she knows, she's reminded this is not real. I'm not making this happen. I'm basically just working for work's sake, because I already know that my higher self doesn't want me to close these deals. And while she thinks of this as being now a reflex because of the fact that she hasn't been closing, the fact is it's not a reflex, that she knows exactly. She's getting to the point. In fact, there's a question coming up about this where she says, how can I bridge the gap between having the consciousness of my higher self and where I'm at? She states it as from when I become source and I know all and I'm connected to the one and where I'm at. For example, how do I know what I'm doing? How do I become aware of what I'm doing, for example, in the 14th dimension or whatnot? And if you don't remember this reference, it comes from the fact that during my first hypnosis session, qhht hypnosis session in August 2021, before connected to the 25th, I was transported to the 14th dimension. That's where I found out that I was one of the watchers. And so that's where they're talking about. And I have been wanting to know, when I have certain experiences, I'm like at a source level. So I feel like one with the all, and I'm able to know what source has intended and that kind of thing. And then I live my life here like everybody else. But then I want to know, there is a space in between that I would like to be aware of. So here's the gist of this question, basically. So let's continue reading here. Really, this is the work that she's doing now. And this work is where it blurs the line. And this particular reality matters less and less and less. And while she keeps it going, it's really not real. And it's very much not real to her. So she is at this level doing the work thing, of course, taking care of her daughter, the pets, the house, everything else. But everything else is the extra. Now, she says, which is a fair statement, in 3D would require money to survive, but she's not going to be in a situation where her survival would be a risk. And now we know, because she's thinking this right now, is I don't even want the stress of thinking that's where I would get if we stayed here another 2 years, 3 years, because I need money to come in. We need money to survive here. We know that's what she's thinking. And she says, there is no need for this to happen. And there is no need for this to happen. She can find ways. We said this before. She can find ways of making money where she doesn't lose track of what she's doing and why she's doing it. So for example, she's going to work. She's going to start working with a couple of her friends. And this is not going to be a problem. And she's going to have regular money coming in. But she's now learning, and not because she had to learn this, but it is helping. This is the process we are doing. We're going to be doing. She's learning that we truly, at a higher self level, can truly take care of things without things looking a certain way in 3D. So she's banging her head against the wall because she says this makes no sense. We're keeping the shell in place, but the shell is an external shell. She knows this is not real. The shell is the fact that there are still governments out there taking care of the NPCs. The shell is that you still need money, for example, when you go out and buy something. The shell is that there are still supermarkets out there. The shell is that we still have shows. If you turn on the television, turn on the news, you still have a show saying, oh, This person is saying this. This person is saying that. And this is all NPCs talking about other NPCs. The shell does not exist at a conscious level for people like Clea anymore. It exists when we look outside because we want to go out there and say, oh, it's still in place. This is still the same. Good. Because we already said this is good for us. We want it. We want the shell in place. But really, when she's with her thoughts, when she thinks about these things, she knows perfectly well this is not real. And I have to tell you guys, it's a trippy, trippy thing. I don't know if you're experiencing this, but I have real trouble taking anything seriously anymore. I'm laughing now when this low vibrational stuff happens in my life, like in everybody else's life. And I'm like, really? It's fascinating times we're going through. This also is comforting to her right now because, of course, every once in a while she says, maybe this is not real, referring to the 25th and the takedown. That's what they're referring to. Maybe this is not real, the same thing you were referring to, Lorrayne. Or maybe they're fake, they're fooling us, they're manipulating us, and they were chuckling because Lorrayne actually did say that as well. And again, she and I were chatting, so we were on the same page. We're like, let's just make sure this is all real, right? And we take no offense at this. You know, you never have to feel uncomfortable with expressing or even thinking these thoughts. We are not here, obviously, to persuade you of anything. So Clea also has questions. So maybe this will never happen, or who knows, you know. We've been here before where we've been told, oh, this is going to happen, and it never happens. It's almost like the solar flash, this legendary solar flash that's supposed to happen in the New Age spirituality community, but never happens, right? But it isn't, because the fact is, when we have these discussions, or when she actually stops and removes her emotions, you know, as much as we're able to do at 3D level in this reality, she knows that this is why this is happening. So while it may not look logical, because she says, well, this is not the shell, because the shell would involve me making money, you know, continue the reality as it is. I have money coming in. I spend money. What's the problem? In her case, she's not, and she knows this. The veil is very, very thin, very, very, very thin. And this is one of the ways where that shows up, and it shows up in our reality. We're not going to be making money anywhere else. There is no money anywhere else. Certainly, there's not going to be any money on the earth. So she's in resistance of this, of course, because again, when she's fully 3D, when she's being fully 3D, or as much as she's capable of being fully 3D at this point, she's thinking, oh my goodness, the sky's falling. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. We go back to the way we play the game here. I got to save. I got to have money to pay for these things. Not only, as you mentioned, there have been expenses coming up. There are even extraordinary expenses. So she's thinking, well, you're not letting me make money, but you're not even keeping the status quo. You're now adding, you're accelerating the drainage of funds for no reason, out of nowhere. And what kind of drama, low-level drama is this? And this is low-level drama. Yes, this is the low-level drama that we're having come up, and that Lorrayne was also referring to. She wanted to know, what's the point? Just to keep the shell in place? Fine. But what is the point of having such low vibrational new stuff come up? And the reason is because we are trying actually to keep this real. And for Clea, again, because she's very much aware this is not real, this is why these things are happening. And everything is manageable, you see. It's nothing major, majorly destructive, but destructive enough to where it looks. She goes, well, clearly something is still happening. You're testing me. And there she goes down the cycle. So she's in between, you know, there's almost no veil here, aware of a lot of things already. And now we make this come through, just like the car issues, which are out of nowhere. She thought she was done with it after the first one. And she realized the first one, why it happened. And with the second one, she goes, what is going on? And the condo thing, why? And they're referring to the fact that there was a new majority owner. There's a new majority owner in my condo building. And all of a sudden, we have to come up with $1 million because the old person, apparently, the old owner apparently took all our money. So we have no reserves. And all of a sudden, we have to do all this deferred maintenance. So all of a sudden, we all, each unit, each owner has to come up with a bunch of money. And I'm like, okay, this is boring. So this is what they're referring to as extraordinary expenses. And I'm like, this is not the shell. This is even more new low vibrational stuff. All right, so let me continue here. And the condo thing, why? Because she's resisting. And we don't mean resistance where you're going to go back because we know what you're thinking of. You're saying, yeah, but I'm not putting up resistance. I don't want to put up the resistance. I'm fine. I accept what's happening. Just stop with the drama. We don't mean resistance in that sense, that you're resisting, for example, the fact that we are going through or what we're going through at this point is pretty much it's becoming more and more of a conscious thing where you don't have, it's not a leap of faith anymore. We wish we could find a better word to describe what's happening, is that you almost want to anchor yourself to 3D. And the way that we know to anchor ourselves, where we still feel like something is happening to us, is by having these low vibrational things happen. And this was a shock for me, but I got it. So I'm going to repeat this because this might help explain whatever you might be going through. We want to anchor ourselves. And the only way we know how to anchor ourselves in 3D, where we still feel like something is happening to us, is by having these low vibrational things happen. In other words, for us to keep the shell in place, our own reality in place, we have to use low vibrational drama, because that's the only thing we know how to do here. I mean, I was in shock. And not only we feel like it's coming from the outside, it's happening to us. And this is when we feel like something is happening to us and we're victims of something, that's when we go to external reality. It means we still believe that there is an external reality that we're not controlling. And we can't think for some reason when we do, and Clea is aware of this as she's getting this information, she's aware of the truth of this in her experience. When we have positive things happen, we feel like we are creating our reality. When we have negative things happening, we feel as if it's being imposed on us. Something is happening to us. You see the problem? So Clea, for example, wants to focus more time on painting. When she does that, she feels in the flow. She feels like, I'm manifesting my reality. But when she has something happen, like the car, for example, the car issues or the condo special assessment now, which is stressful for her, she feels like, I can't believe these things are still happening. It's like they're happening to me. That's the difference. So that's when we give ourselves the little injections of reality so that we don't just disintegrate. Not disintegrate, it seems negative. We don't mean in a negative way. We don't just take off. We don't take off in our thought pattern. Clea has always thought about this. She's always thought, my head is in the clouds. Her entire life, she's always thought, my head is not here. My head is in the clouds. I'm always thinking of things that, are more elevated. And again, we don't mean a hierarchy, just detached from 3D, the everyday 3D reality. And that's what we mean. Every once in a while, these are shots of reality in the sense that they take us now back to 3D. The positive things don't have the same power for us. In fact, when we have the positive things, we feel like, oh, this is what I'm going to be doing on the earth, the things I enjoy. And it's exactly what it is. That's exactly true. That's exactly what happens. Because how much of the positive things have happened and taken place here? We just don't connect them with this type of reality. It's not something we can do all the time, something that many of us forgot when we were children. The last time we've had real fun is maybe when we were children and we were still in our more of a higher self version of ourselves. And we still didn't have all the limiting beliefs and we didn't believe in reality the way it is and all of that. So we understand, and Clea is correct, the reason why these things are happening, the reason why this makes no sense to her is because and we mentioned this before, because she's living between two realities. And many of you are, some more or less consciously, because Clea is so conscious about what's happening. She's living outside of reality, of this reality most of the time. And when these things come up, she feels dragged back in. And now, of course, she doesn't like it. She hates it. It's not that it's bad just from a 3D perspective. She hates it because she's taken out of where she wants to be, which is what she's been craving all along. She wants time. She wants time to just be. She cannot even wait to be on your earth so she can just be. But we did not come here to be. We came here to do. And so these things give her things to do. Now, why do the closings not happen? The closings are events. And so the events, the one-off events are always going to be low vibration, pretty much. There's nothing really positive that could come up that would take Clea, would make her feel like, oh, this is 3D happening. And this is because, again, I've always known that I can affect these closings. So this doesn't feel, I still feel like I'm making it happen. So in fact, one of the things I always loved about real estate is the fact that, and I always thought this even when I was an atheist, or definitely not consciously connecting on the 25th, I always thought that's the thing with real estate. You're creating a check really out of nothing, out of thin air. So it does feel very much like a higher self is in charge. So I'm going to continue reading here. And so that's what happens with the closings. However, the second she starts a job where it's more regular, she will say, wow, this is definitely 3D, which doesn't mean she has to dread it, but it will feel very much 3D. She's going to be around people who are NPCs. She's going to be doing the routine thing. To her, routine and 3D are the same thing. And therefore, the money will come in automatically because she won't think about it. It won't be an event. It will just be like, yeah, this is how it works. But every time she has to instead create a reality where she feels like it's real, she's creating low vibrational things. And again, there is a reason for that. Because if she created high vibrational things, and there aren't that many available here, she would think, oh no, that's not 3D reality. How many of us would think of 3D as being, you know, high vibration and all of that? That doesn't often happen. And so that's the case. And that's why she finds it illogical. It is illogical, yes, because again, if you're just keeping the shell and that's all you're doing, that's all you're experiencing on a conscious level is the shell, then the shell works a certain way. It's 2 + 2 = 4. That's the shell. But it's not quite, she's not just living a shell level now. And this is what we've been working on. And depending on what you've allowed yourself to deal with, to acknowledge consciously, you will experience more of these breakdowns, not less, because we spend a lot of our time now consciously knowing this is not real. We're having conversations, not just even when we meet on these occasions, but just in general. We're having conversations about NPCs. How often did you find yourself talking with NPCs, knowing that they're NPCs, noticing, observing with your 3D eyes at a 3D level that these people are not there anymore? How many times did you consciously think about that like it's nothing? Like you're talking about what you had for breakfast before a year ago. The work you've done is showing. It's not just an idea that now you put in your head and it's like, of course, I talk about it because now it's in my head. But you know, in 10 years, if all of this is not real, in 10 years, I'll be talking about something else and thinking that that's real. It's not quite the same way. You're very well aware of what's real and not real. You know, when we talk about NPCs, as weird as this would have sounded a year ago, let alone 10 years ago, you told Claire this was the case 10 years ago, she would have thought you are cuckoo. But now she knows. She knows this is true. She cannot help but notice this is true. She sees behavior she's never seen before, ever, in the rest of her life. And it's not like everybody was behaving really well before, but now these behaviors are random. She's having her friends do things that are sort of characters. She wants to believe they're still here. She wants to not think about it. And then she's like, that's the only explanation. What other explanation is there? Unless they're crazy, unless all of a sudden they went crazy, and that's the problem. So Claire is very much, just like you are, Lorraine, is very much aware this is fake now. This is not real, you know? Unfortunately, every once in a while, she wants to keep it real. And so these low vibrational things are, again, shots of reality. This is why we're using this term. It's basically, well, we're still here. Let's keep this going. This is also in answer to your question, which you were mentioning to Claire this morning, where you said, what is the point of the low vibrational drama of the new things coming up? Can we just keep things as they are? Because that's what Claire and you wish for. Okay, well, let's keep the shell. Let's keep the steady. Let's keep it steady until the end. We're not asking for the government to collapse visibly. We're not asking for the pharmaceutical companies to collapse and all the corporations and technological companies and everything else. But why the new low vibrational stuff, like World War III threats, et cetera, et cetera? Because otherwise we would be like, okay, we already changed the polarities changed. So we wouldn't even act as a shell anymore. We believe it less and less. The fact is, many of us, and you see it in the Telegram group as well, many of us are onto the game. We're very much, as you know, you should already be on yours by now. You would have already been doing this work big time. And because we're not just here twiddling our thumbs, we're doing this work now. And it has everything in this, what we refer to as becoming Neo, which means that it's obvious to us now. It's not even something we're fighting anymore. It is obvious to us now that we create everything. But then notice, when you are dealing with this low vibrational stuff that comes in, you're like, why is this still happening? As if you're not making it happen. Do you see? And this is what we were referring to. When this low vibrational stuff happens, we still feel like, oh, okay, there's still somebody else out there playing with us. which there isn't. You guys were saying that, you know, you're watching people do this that are not even there. So you're keeping all of this in place. So I'm going to end this video here because it's getting very long, but please make sure to watch the next video because Lorrayne believes that some of this information is contradictory. So the 25th has an opportunity because of her comment to go more into it and give us more nuances of what's actually happening behind the scenes. So thank you so much for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.